I was out a few days ago, and we did a kind of a emergency plan for
Mhm.
how to help you and the children and your husband.
Mhm.
So really wanted to sit down and talk to you in more detail
Mhm.
about how that's working and whether that plan can continue to work so that
Mhm.
we can be sure that the children are safe and everybody's feeling comfortable with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
situation.
Of course. Yeah. Gary he's been really working hard to make things right
Hmm.
with myself and the kids, and everything has been going really well. One of my church members have been coming over helping me with the kids at night, or if that's not the best, then the kids will go over to her house and spend the night. But everything's been working really, really well.
Yeah. So, for example, last night when you said you ended up having to work longer than you wanted,
Mhm.
and I know that's probably a big imposition on your friend. You must have
Mhm.
showed up 2 o'clock or something after
Mhm.
you finished a
Mhm.
shift at 1. So how's that working for you and your children, your friends?
Well, she lives on the next block, and normally when it's that late, she'll just allow the kids to spend the night. It's just her and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Her kids are grown, and she enjoys spending time with the kids, and the kids really adore her. So she hasn't mentioned anything to me of it being a hardship or anything.
Okay. So you could kind of think into the future. Let's say we need to do this for a while
Mhm.
until we kind of really figure out what's going to make a long-term change. But we're talking weeks, not just days, that
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
probably need to continue that the children not be alone with their father, so that when you're working, um, for most people, that's friends and stuff. That's a lot to ask for. So if we think about into the future, several weeks out, what might be other resources, ways that we can reach the goal that we have right
Mhm.
now, that the kids don't spend alone time with their father,
Mhm.
either your.
I do have a sister that lives here in town, but um, she's had issues in and out of rehab, so I'm just not sure she would be the best option. There are other church members that
Mhm.
maybe I can have on standby, but I really just didn't want everybody in the church to know what was
Mhm.
going on, because this was just really just a big mistake, and um, sure it won't happen again. Um, I also thought about maybe going to my boss to see if he could maybe change my shift to
Okay.
day shift, but the problem with that, I won't get nearly as many hours, and we really need the hours now. I mean,
Mhm.
that's our only soul of income,
Okay.
our only source of income right now. So, can I think about that? And maybe I don't know if I just don't have an answer right now.
I understand that because there's a lot to think about. So maybe we'll go look at it from a couple different angles and make sure we're in agreement with each other. Because just a moment ago, I heard you say something just a little quiet, but that
Mm-hmm.
it was just a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were talking about the actual incident where your husband slapped Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you mean that it was just a mistake? How do you see that what happened is something in
We
your.
love our kids. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we would never do anything to hurt our kids. Never, ever. Uh,
I, I understand that you are very loving, caring parents and have been a very solid family for many years. But there's been a lot of stresses the last year and a half from the family. And sometimes that causes people to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And one way to think about it is on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is you're really sure that if you left the kids home, something bad would happen. Whatever that would be, right? So somebody would get hurt or and 1 is absolutely no way, it will never happen again. As you said, it's a one-time incident, just never ever would happen again. And you're 100% confident that you could leave the kids home day after day with your dad when you're at work and nothing would happen. Where are you on that scale right now?
I mean, because we've talked about this, and I mean, we understand that it's something that shouldn't have happened, and you know, it was just a mistake.
Right.
And talking to Gary, he knows that he'll definitely have to be mindful in how he discipline the kids, and be a lot more patient with the kids, even though you know he may be a little frustrated or anxious in his search for a job. But he has promised that this will never happen again, and I believe him.
Okay.
So I would say definitely a 8 or 9.
So way up there. So, and you gave me some of the reasons already. It might be an 8 or 9. So, Gary says he won't do it again. This hasn't been a regular pattern on how he's done things. All right. You feel like you're really confident in doing that? Okay. If I ask Georgia, Georgia, the same scale of 1 to 10, when you're home with your dad alone, mom's not here, how nervous, concerned are you? 10 would be, I'm sure something bad's going to happen. Whether it's he hits me, he yells at me, we get into a verbal fight, you know, something that at 10 years old she would say is bad. To, you know, we're just going to have a nice loving time. Now, most people are never at either extreme. But what do you think Georgia would say?
I don't know, because she feels as if we're getting on to her too much just because we ask her to do chores or do her homework at a certain time or help her little brother with something. So, I mean, kids, they're just not going to look at it as the same way as we're going to look at it. So, maybe a 6 or a 7 for her.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
She probably, you know, and you're right. People don't look at it the same way. That's why I asked the question from different points of view. Always think about, you know, what would she think? What do you think? What does your husband think? That's how we're trying to assess how much safety do we need to put in a situation. So, because nobody wants it to happen again. I'm sure Georgia doesn't want it to happen again. Your husband doesn't want it to happen again. You don't want it to happen again.
Right.
So we want to develop a plan that would make sure that just even a couple of points, you know, if it's an 8 or 9, that you're pretty sure it's not going to happen, but it, you know. I think I actually got the scale reversed there when I said that. You said 8 or 9. Did you really mean it's almost likely to happen, or that's really a 1 or 2 that's not likely to happen?
8 or 9 meant that it's not likely to happen.
Not likely to happen. Okay. I just all of a sudden I said that number out loud. I realized I think you and I were saying the numbers in different reverse order, but we get the idea, right? Okay. So you're feeling pretty confident it's not going to happen.
Right.
Georgia maybe not quite as confident.
Right.
What do you think your husband would say?
Like I said, he has been very apologetic, and he's promised that it wouldn't happen again. And in our conversation, he knows that he's definitely going to have to be more careful and conscious of how he's disciplining the kids, especially Georgia, since you know she's expected to do more chores and things around the house. So I would think that he's on the same page as I am with the 8 or 9.
Okay. So really not likely.
Right.
So what we're looking for when we say we want a plan that's going to last for a long time is that nothing's 100% in life, but we like to get a little bit closer, especially since there has been the incident that happened earlier this week where you know, our job and your job and husband's job is to make sure it doesn't happen again. So when go back to the question about what would be other ways that you might have resources to ensure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I did look at the list of community resources that you provided the last time you were here. And I'm actually thinking about calling or tapping into some of those just community resources that would not necessarily provide an outlet, but relief for the kids to be able to do things with other kids in the community. Would also give my husband an opportunity to more time to search for a job while the kids are
Right.
involved in those activities.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking about calling up some of those places to see if that's something that we can take advantage of.
Okay, that sounds like a great start.
Yeah.